that qualitative real-time insight can play in helping bring these numbers to life. I think about 50% of the people in the survey said that their current customer satisfaction methods were somewhat inflexible. So one way of increasing that flexibility is introducing a more qualitative aspect to the programs. So I was on the way here and I stopped for a fix at my favourite store. Who here has got an Apple product? Put your hands up. And I wonder if you agree with me that when you walk into the Apple store and you see that blue t-shirt, I feel I've come to meet a friend and someone that's there that's going to help me. A couple of weeks ago, I was going to do another presentation with the ICG with Andy Evans at the back here. I'd never actually worked with Andy before and I was pretty nervous, and my computer then decided to break down. So I went to the Apple store and said, can you fix it? Went to the Genius Bar and they said, well, unfortunately you need some bit and it will take 7 to 10 days. And I explained to them how nervous I was working with Andy, and if they could possibly fix it quicker, it would be good. And 40 minutes later, at the cost of £45, I walked out of the store with a fixed computer. So that was pretty exceptional. And a few weeks ago, I posted onto the forum to see if I could get my data backed up quicker, and even Ben couldn't help out. So I phoned up the helpline, and they spent 2 40-minute phone calls with me trying to explain how Time Machine works to an external backup device. And it wasn't even an Apple backup device. After the second call, and I didn't have a service contract or any of that, after the second call they said to me, very sorry, this is taking an awful lot of your time. And I was about to get the sorry, can't help you anymore. And they said, so what we're going to do is we're going to send you a hard drive free of charge, a 50 gig hard drive free of charge to help you out. Retail about £80. And I said, well, excuse me, could you give me a 1 terabyte rather than a 500 gig? And I'll pay the difference. And he came back to me and said, no, we can't accept money, we'll just send you one of those. So, pretty exceptional customer service. And, I find when I go onto their website, it's pretty easy to navigate and easy to use. And when you're in the store, you can now have with a wonderful little app, just actually pay for something in the store so you don't have to queue. So how can everyone be like Apple? Well, if you stand back from this and you look at the role the brand plays, and I think the role research plays in this understanding is it's got to look at things from the promise and the delivery. So that, yes, the brand these days sets the promise to the customer through loads of different media. But it also must enable the delivery channels to deliver that promise to the customer, be that in-store, online, in the call centres. And those parts make up the collective brand experience. Now, to give you an example of this, one of the key aspects of service delivery is indeed employees of the company and working in the store. So we did this online survey working with another ICG member, Richard Lambert, for a high street retailer I can't name. They were in the mother and baby sector, it's a small clue, as we're amongst friends. And here this highlighted along the bottom the level of customer satisfaction on the strongly agree score. And so we can see here that region 1's performing pretty well, and this on the left is that the answer to the question of we value customer satisfaction from employees. So you can see that overall region 6 scored the best, and region 9 was the poorest performer. Now what that in fact did was it highlighted some of the issues, particularly in terms of the in-store delivery, and this brought not only lots of ideas from the employees. 50% of employees that completed the survey answered the question for one big idea to improve customer service, and much to our horror we got 1,400 verbatim ideas to look at. But it also stimulated senior stakeholders to actually take action. So we presented this to the executive committee, and they then launched an internal comms program to improve the customer experience and provide ongoing feedback. So it kind of worked in both ways and added a lot more impact to what was the customer satisfaction data initially. Now, that's all very well, but let's do a reality check. And for quite a lot of clients in the room, I think a lot of them might have agreed with this statement, where the customer service department think they're doing a fantastic job, and in fact, the customer thinks they're not. And this isn't a sort of slightly, this is quite a common occurrence, and I think it's partly because most client organisation structures do not integrate research, e-commerce, call centres and HR. They've all got different line managers, and they probably these days rarely talk to each other. They might send the odd email, but they don't actually get together. So let's look at some practical ideas now on how you can engage stakeholders throughout the customer experience program. And the suggestion we'd like to make is that you need to involve them from the beginning and throughout the program. So I'm now going to show you a brief case study that Andre de Vries, surname I can never pronounce, and I did with Comet. They wanted to learn from Amazon. They thought Amazon had a pretty exceptionally good customer experience, and so Comet wanted to learn what they needed to do to make theirs better. So we first of all did a quant survey that Andre put together, looking at the most important attributes and levels of customer satisfaction. And we then followed this up with an online call program looking at the delivery channels, which also engage key stakeholders throughout the process, which is the key point I want to make in showing you these next three charts. Now, this is a hell of a chart, actually, and the client thought this was very good. Somebody afterwards did say they didn't completely understand it at the Aura presentation, so Andrew, for your benefit now, I'm going to take you through it. No, I'm going to spare you that. Essentially, it's pretty simple. The Amazon's on the orange blob and Comet are on the blue blob. So you can see on every dimension, in terms of satisfaction going upwards, Amazon outperformed Comet. Okay? Now, just to prove my point, can anybody spot the dimension in which Comet outperformed Amazon?
Physical stores.
Absolutely. So you're sitting at the front, so you can get it. I was going to offer you a mini iPad as a prize for all this. Okay, so the team thought, we have got a problem here, we need to do something. So they got the project team together, and so they got the e-commerce team, the marketing team, the product development team, and the research team together. And they started off by putting themselves in the shoes of the customer. So we did an online bulletin board asking, how can Comet become the most useful and best regarded electronics website? So this got a lot of ideas going, and they also started considering in practice what they needed to do to implement these. And from this, there were clearly some issues with the website. So we then did an online usability study using a screen share product, GoToMeeting. And you can see here our participant, which is actually Sam, demonstrating this. But the key thing here is the clients can view exactly what's going on. And we then took this a stage further, and we developed some concepts on how the website could offer a better experience, which we put into this online focus group, and the consumer here could mark up the whiteboard. But the important thing here is the client feedback. Now, what the client didn't know was that I could see that. And so they were starting to say, God, I really fancy a few beers tonight, and then I'll go for a curry. And so this stream was going on, and I think I popped in saying I quite fancied a virtual beer, and they focused on the job in hand. But that actually proved very effective in engaging them. So let's ask the customer what he thought, and the customer was Phil Tyso at Comet, now at Argus. And this is basically what he said about it. So the bulletin board helped engage people at the start of the program. They then were much more predisposed to watch the online group and contribute to that. So they were starting to get their heads towards a solution and what they could do to improve the customer experience. And at the end, the debrief became more of a workshop than a presentation. Now, unfortunately, as some of you will know, Comet have gone bust, which is one reason I can present this case study. But perhaps the point is, though, that the Comet story highlighted the danger that senior stakeholders were actually not really listening and acting on customer feedback in time. And I know that Phil, for years, had real problems getting the point of view across. And the Aura survey, I think at the beginning, highlighted that many people in the room, and this was reinforced in the chat over Q&A and in the bar afterwards, that the biggest problem they've got is actually engaging other stakeholders in the senior management team and getting them to look at the customer and to get them to actually feel and think about the customer, and they were too much relying on just pure numbers. They needed that qualitative insight, to get them engaged in the process. So, going back to where we started, real impact requires real understanding in real time. What I tried to cover today is that the starting point is you've got to engage the stakeholders. You then must look at the overall brand experience that the customers are going through, so you must cover different customer touch points and measure what's happening and learn from them, and then go into it in more detail. And looking at the delivery channels can often be an early warning system that something's going to go wrong.
Excuse me. Sorry. Do you mind if I interrupt for 2 minutes? This is really interesting, and it's interesting hearing about how you engage with the employees and how you get these big cheeses, these important people involved. But I don't feel I'm hearing quite enough about me, about the customer. So for a minute, the customer's going to take over. So, what is the real customer experience, and what's that about? Of course, as Robin said, real needs to reflect the different times that I engage with a brand. But real's about so much more than that. It's about experiencing the moments through my eyes and looking at all the different moments, the granularity of what makes up that whole experience. The reason I'm here as a customer is I recently took part in a research community, and it really made me think. I am your dream customer. I love filling in those questionnaires. Every single one that comes along, I'm filling it in, adore doing them. But taking part in the community made me realise there were things that I could tell you that maybe you're not always getting. So that's what I want to talk about today, how engaging with customers in real time can deliver a different type of depth and a different type of tangibility in terms of understanding their experience. Now, it isn't snowing outside, but if the last 6 months have taught us anything, it's that at some place in the UK it will be snowing. So my first seasonal example is around Christmas. So this community was for a high street retailer, and one of the things they wanted to understand was our experience of Christmas. So we did quite a wide variety of things, everything from online groups where we were looking at helping them develop their in-store posters and things, through to bulletin boards looking at best offers and deals, surveys looking at how we planned to shop and then what we actually did, and talking directly to the client. So we had areas where we could talk to the clients and they could ask us about things. So things like how the recession or fears of the recession were impacting on what we were doing. As well as more esoteric things like sharing Pinterest boards, the sort of things that were inspiring us for our homes or recipes around Christmas. And we did this over quite a wide spread, so kind of 2 months or so. But what they were most interested in was